Hey there. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Maggie's Life on Earth. I am Maggie, if that was not obvious. Anywho, thanks for being here. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different than the other videos that I've made on this channel so far. And I just kind of wanted to speak off of the top of my head, from my heart, about the topic of returning to creativity after a really long break. Or I guess what my mind wants to tell me was a really long break. And this is different from my other content because normally I write out a script and I edit it and make a couple versions and then I record the voiceover based off that. But today I'm just watching the playback of the footage that you're currently watching, the sped up session of me making music just on like a chill Friday night by myself. I just dedicated an hour to allow myself to create whatever. I just started off with a new project and just kind of messed around and put stuff together that I thought sounded cool. No expectations. It didn't have to turn into like an actual song. It didn't have to be anything. It didn't even have to be good. It was just to enjoy the process of making music again and kind of dipping my toes back in the creative water, if you will. So, returning back to creativity after a break. I had about 10, 11 months in between my most recent YouTube video and my last one. I uploaded a few last year in 2025, along with just launching this YouTube channel as well. And I was building so much momentum with the videos and finding a routine, experimenting with routines and figuring out what was good for me and figuring out my voice and my style of these videos. And was also really working on releasing the fears and resistances that I've had for honestly years, because I've thought about making my own personal YouTube channel for quite some time. But I did have many fears and blocks in the way that had prevented me from doing so. But I was really excited. I built up all this momentum. And then for some reason, 10 months just kind of flew by and creativity was not happening. One of the main things that I think contributed to why that break lasted the amount of time that it did was the guilt that I felt every day for not honoring just honoring my creative pursuits. I think I did need just a bit of a break at the start. You know, life gets in the way. We're not going to be machines that perfectly create on a rigid schedule and timeline. Like, that's just unrealistic. We are humans. We can allow ourselves grace. I am learning to I am learning to allow myself grace. But it's hard when your mind just comes in and it's like, yo, dude, it's been like a whole month. What are you doing? Like, you've just wasted all of our progress. You know, the next time you upload a YouTube video, less people are going to be paying attention. You're going to have to, not that I was even like in the algorithm or anything, like it's such a small YouTube channel right now, but there's still momentum that really felt like it was lost. And it just, every single day that I didn't create in some way, it felt like this mountain was getting taller and taller and taller and harder for me to figure out how to climb to the top of. It just felt like more and more resistance the more time I spent away from my creative pursuits. Looking back at it now and kind of being in a different space, I do feel like I am more in an open time in my life where I feel intuitively and just kind of through my being that there's more momentum occurring. And it feels like there's just naturally and intuitively less blocks within me. And I think there is something very important in the breaks that we take from our creative work that happens. I think there's a lot of stuff internally, subconsciously, unconsciously even, that gets processed from our previous creative period. Because for me, those 10, 11 months, while I still don't intellectually understand the reason behind it, I do know that I was still on a subconscious level processing all the fears and the resistances every day, even when not, quote unquote, showing up to the creative work. There was so much happening on an internal, emotional, energetic level that was work. And I think even when our mind doesn't understand the time away, I do really think that all of those things, which are so, so important to go through and to process and to allow ourselves to feel and grieve and to understand our resistances or our fears or our doubts or our minds just on a deeper level. And I think for me, that's what the time away was really highlighting. And with that, there was a lot of guilt and shame and the old mental programs and thoughts that just tried to keep me away from returning to creativity. Because if I return to it, that would mean that I have to face those fears and these giant mountains again. And I think a part of me, just on a subconscious level, was, and admittedly still is, scared to traverse the path, to go through the resistances, to look at, to see, to hear, and have compassion for the fears, because they have been fear for so long. And I don't have all the answers by any means, and I don't totally know what the point of all of this is. But if you're a creative out there that has also gone through these waves and these phases of breaks and the guilt and shame cycle when you don't feel like you're showing up to your creativity, even though it's something that you love and that you enjoy and you want to share, I think just sometimes shit happens. Sometimes we need to step away to allow our bodies and minds to process other things, subconscious things that we're not consciously aware of. I think it's all necessary, and I think it's all a part of the process. So, one creative to another, I just want to say, truly, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to allow yourself to rest. It doesn't mean that you aren't creative. It doesn't mean that you will never be creative again. And I hope that our minds, as we work on this stuff together, can learn that we don't have to be so hard on ourselves. That we don't have to let our fears affect our daily choices and actions, or to dictate how we choose to show up for ourselves, for our lives, and for our creative pursuits. And creativity truly can just be fun. This music session for me, it was just like, I think it was only like an hour. I didn't make anything crazy or extravagant. I don't know if I'll end up wanting or feeling like I even want to turn it into like a quote unquote actual song. You know, it doesn't have to be anything. But in that moment, in that hour, I had a really great time being present, playing my instruments again, experimenting in Logic, which is the DAW that I use, and just having fun. Creativity is here to be fun, to be enjoyed. And so may we all find our way back to that in our own time, on our own journeys. All right. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking to this, what my mind wants to call rambling. It was definitely different for me, but it was fun. It was good. Maybe I'll do these little just candid, raw, in the moment voiceover kind of things moving forward. But I still love my scripted content, and I will also be doing that as well. Anywho, thank you so much for being here with me. And if you're a fellow creative out there who has also taken breaks from your creativity or from your art, I'd love to hear about it below. What are some of the things that come up for you in your time away? And how do you care for yourself in that time? Yeah, that's fun. That's a fun question. I hope somebody out there answers it. I'd love to hear it. Would love to connect with you. All right. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And until next time, be well.